All right, so we're here to chat about the Detroit ID and the proposal to the city to use blockchain to make this project more interesting and more provide more impact, really, and provide better incentives for people to participate in this program and make it so, yeah, really just increase the benefits around it, and the ability for people to build on top of this is really honestly the big thing. I think there's a lot of opportunity here because right now this is very analog. So they have a Detroit. I'm going to go through this process today, this afternoon. I'm going to go apply for this and see what it's like. But there, from my understanding, there'll be no digital representation of this. And they had a concern. So in 2022, let's go back to this. I was reading this article here. So in 2022, the program was put on purchase due to abundance of caution because there was worries about the information that could be compromised. And so they were doing due diligence and they found a new vendor that was more appropriate. And I'd be curious who this vendor is and what that process actually looks like to see if that data actually is this data not stored permanently. So I could easily see that you take this information, verify it, and then the data can't be accessed by a third party. So I'd be curious if they actually are storing this anywhere in this process, or they're just taking this information and printing a card and then the information disappears. Either way, it'd be good to spend some more time researching that and understanding what that looks like. But that's obviously a valid concern. We don't want information just readily available. It's a big risk for our citizens. We don't want people just knowing that information publicly, or hackers being able to find that information and exploiting it. So yeah, so you can go and apply at these local government facilities. So I'm going to go into the Patchen Recreational Center today and check this out. It's a $10 fee. These ads are really shaking up the screen. So yeah, so interesting program that, they just launched this back in September this year after, putting it on hiatus from 2022 to those concerns. And here is application checklist. So there's a bunch of different research I've been doing here. So here's the main page on the government website, Detroit government website, about how it's going to be used. Yeah, you can't use it for voting. I did have an interesting thought, but it could be very interesting for polling. So maybe, you can't legally vote, which makes sense. So there's like a process around that. Maybe someday there could be trust built into the system that allows you to more easily register to vote. But still require you to show up, because that's the big thing. So I think it makes sense. Like, you need to show up. So Detroit residents must vote in person at the county clerk's office, or register to vote at the county clerk's office or Detroit Early Voting Center. So maybe, this still could be required, but your Detroit ID could maybe simplify the process and also encourage you through different marketing promotions to actually show up to register to vote at these different physical locations. And your Detroit ID can just simplify the process to make it streamlined for everyone. So yeah, with that, diving into some of these. So they have this partner concept. So this is funny because it fits in very well to the proposals that I made for the general proposal for this project. Incentivize businesses to be involved. So here is become a Detroit ID community partner. So Mayor Duggan launched this program, and basically businesses can submit their products and services, and accept Detroit ID as a verification or identification for offering discounts or other benefits. They have some examples here, which I'd be curious, the adoption of this. That'd be something interesting to learn. I imagine it's probably not very high, but I think with the right incentives and strategy around promoting this program, and providing a more interesting use cases for the Detroit ID, using digital access, there could be some interesting adoption from different business owners of using the Detroit ID. I'm thinking honestly just rewards. I mean, they kind of highlighted in here. Exclusive activities, discounts. I don't know if they actually do mention rewards in here. They don't. So I think that would be honestly the most interesting thing. So use your DID as a way of having a account with the city and with the businesses in the city to just earn rewards. So you can earn special rewards as being a resident of the city and being a loyal customer to the businesses in the city. And we should actually make, honestly, now I'm thinking about this too, like so there's a Detroit ID for, this like requires residents. I do think it'd be very interesting to have a non-resident Detroit ID, because there's so many people that don't live in the city of Detroit that would probably want some sort of form of identification. And it could be with this digital process, it could be, an unverified, or like we can even verify it from like some sort of social consensus that this is a person, there's no fraud in it, like limits your services. You only get access to services if you have a Detroit ID with a proven residency status. And so that could be something that could be verified on chain, and the data can be anonymized and done in a way that is secure. And we can get more information on people who are interested, who live and operate, or at least live, maybe they don't have a residential status in Detroit, but they live in Detroit from just their day-to-day interactions and coming down here from all the different surrounding cities. So I think it would be interesting to allow people outside the city to have a Detroit ID for just different reasons of, having more incentives for people to come and growing our city. And hopefully those people will become residents. There's a lot of room down here, a lot of land. I can see it all around me. I definitely recommend moving down here. All right. So here's a form: contact person, first name, last name. So yeah, just some basic information to submit to just get involved with the business partner registration form for the Detroit ID. And then, yeah, here's some more information. So homeless service providers. I think this is honestly a huge thing. I've been thinking for a while about, giving back to homeless people in the city. I mean, I've given a lot of cash away to give them food in different situations, but I think it would be very interesting to be able to digitally give homeless people just different things, different rewards and incentives to just help people out, I love, give somebody a digital coupon that gives them free coffee, or a digital coupon that gives them free lunch. And it's something that is non-transferable and only accepted at businesses that understand this program, and they're not here to scam it. Like, you don't want somebody taking a lunch certificate, trading it for, a fifth of vodka. Right. So I think it'd be very interesting if we could build programs where people can give vouchers, paid vouchers, and support the homeless people in our city, even for like stays. Right. So it's like, you see somebody, hey, here's a voucher to stay at this hotel or this like motel or different just residence. So, I mean, I know there's different like houses and stuff. There's different, I'm not very well versed on the homeless issue from the actuality of it, but I know there's a lot of programs and places for people to come. But I think there could be better incentives and ways to incentivize and connect people to just better support people, especially because I think there's a homeless issue, but there's a homeless people that live on the streets, and then there's a homeless issue of people live in their cars, and then there's a homeless issue of people that couch surf. And so I think that there's got to be ways that we can identify individuals that are being displaced and are on the verge of living on the streets and losing everything that they have, and finding ways to just better support them to get on their feet and find the places that they need to be to help them, rather than leaving it all up to them to search out and find these programs. So just making it better, just the rewards and incentive systems. And a DIDs could be a really good, I mean, obviously they identified it here. I'll have to read this in more detail. Let's just do that right now. So Detroit ID is accepted, proof ID of help. So yeah, all local healthcare, so that's a big thing. So yeah, I guess that's a really interesting thing. So it's like, if you're homeless, like, how do you have residential status? So homeless residents. So how do you prove you're a resident of Detroit if you don't actually have a home? I'd be very curious what that looks like. Okay, so yeah, so primary proof. So health card. So I guess there's ways, yeah. So there's ways of becoming a resident through just going through the different social welfare programs and obtaining your DID for that. So yeah, I bet you there's probably ways that we can streamline this process and get people identifications and just give people the information that they need. One thing I'm very curious about too is the proliferation of devices. Like how many homeless people have cell phones and smartphones. I assume a fair amount, but there's levels to the access of smartphones and other digital devices that would allow digital identity solutions. I mean, at minimum, we can deploy like NFC enabled cards that have a digital identity or a QR code as a part of a printed digital, as a QR code that could be a part of the digital or the printed Detroit ID to access the digital parts of it. I think an NFC chip would be the most interesting. But so you can just tap it on things, and that way you don't need to have a camera to read it. You can honestly do both though. Probably both would make sense. So you either tap or you have a QR code to scan in certain situations. Where they don't have like the NFC reading ability. Proof of Detroit residence. So yeah. Okay, yeah, an affidavit. Okay, yeah, so that makes sense. There's different mechanisms. If you don't have a residential proof of residence and you're homeless in Detroit, you can find ways to get your Detroit ID. All right, and so yeah, so here's FAQs, which looks like it needs to be updated. Let's see if this is the same. All right, maybe I'll bring this up to them when I go in today. Oh, here we go. What services? So city services, create an account. You make an appointment by calling. Okay. So Detroit ID is good for 2 years. Residents can. So yeah, previously there was a concern with personal identifying information being shared through third-party associate, the last vendor we used to produce, although this concern was unfounded. Yeah, which makes sense. We are proud to a new vendor that will not use third-party associates. No identification will be stored, saved, or in order to produce an individual Detroit ID. Okay, so yeah, that's interesting. I'd be very curious to learn more about the details of what that is. And then I think that, like I said, there's with blockchain technology and different like modern protocols, we can deploy mechanisms that allow us to store our own data in a way that we can provide access to certain people where needed. So simply put, we could have an ID number. So we create the Detroit ID. We have an identification number that might be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or however, your ID number, and that's the only information visible. And on your card, we could have your photo, so you can see your digital ID number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, plus your photo, and maybe your name, and even could be your first name. If you want to hide your last name, we can figure out like what policies of what personal identifying information we want to be the bare minimum public display. And honestly, like we could even use handles. Like you could have we could have Detroit IDs that you can have a name that use your Detroit name. There's a lot of people in Detroit that are creative individuals that present themselves with not their real name, but a handle. And so that could be something that is used to identify yourself on an ID. That could limit certain functionality with the physical card. But again, like with the digital component of this, you can provide people access to the information that you have secured on chain in a way that's authenticated and authenticated through these authentication mechanisms that would give you the ability to share that information with select individuals rather than having it be a publicly available data set for people to exploit. All right, so diving into partners, so Detroit ID partners, so interesting. So let's see what we got here. So we got some credit unions, some orthopedics, orthotics, prosthetic orthotics, tire people, tire guy, health connections, yeah, banking, health, finance, health, substance disorder abuse, health training, mental health services. That's good. This is interesting. Development, Hispanic Development Corporation. Looks like it's not a good link there. I'll be interested in learning more about that organization. La Fiera, interesting. So we got a restaurant, happy to provide 5% discounts. Let's go. All right, Gift of Life. Nice. All right, Hot Sam's, nice. Lexus, okay, nice. Mogo, cool. MG Income, nice. So tax services, travel imports, okay, another local small business. Donor registry, credit union, Pingree. Pingree's pretty cool. A decent amount. More clothing. African American History Museum, nice. Detroit Historical Society, cool. The Greening Detroit. Nice. Okay, cool. I'm looking forward to connecting with these guys. Werner Urgent Care, okay, nice, and more health services. So yeah, decent wide range of types of businesses. So it's good to see. I'm going to be spending more time understanding, I guess, what the different organizations offer here, and be finding time to reach out to different entities, just to understand better about why they got involved with the program, and hopefully find ways to just better incentivize collaboration and what digital information that we can build on top of a Detroit ID that would provide value to us as residents of Detroit and to the businesses to help us like grow and collaborate. Cool. All right. Yeah, and here's the basic like application list. So I'm going to spend some time reviewing. I'm gonna just go through this. I'm gonna go through and apply today for Detroit ID over at the Patron Recreational Center. I'm not too far from there. Cool. And hopefully I'll connect with Diana Garcia. So she helps relaunch this program. She is the project coordinator for the Detroit ID card. So hopefully I'll find a way to connect with her. And people, yeah, are against this. You know, it's understandable. I think that there needs to be a shift in mindset around what this can be done, or what advantages something like this could provide. I think again, like this is like too much information on the card. I think we should be able to create a system where you can issue a Detroit ID that allows you to represent yourself with different services. And then there's concepts in technology solutions within blockchain that allow this concept of zero knowledge proof, which allows you to prove certain things without revealing information. And so we can hide a lot of this information, and we can have an identification number that is our identification number with the city, and then create a system that allows us to obfuscate, which is basically like make it so you can't track data between different you can't make different connection points between data. So you obfuscate the ability to connect certain data points to like garner more information on somebody. So we can use these mechanisms to make it so we can interact with this digital identity in different scenarios that allows us to protect our information. So for example, if you are operating with different health services, you can keep the information associated with your health services separate from the information of your basic interactions with different local businesses that include these reward mechanisms. And so, you know, you can't see that, oh, this person went in to get an STD test and they're also buying food over at La Fieria, right? So we don't you don't need to know. No one needs to know that information. All that should be anonymized, but we should be able to take control of our own information. That's the real general premise of what this is, and use that information to just better receive services from our governments and our community, and just better collaborate on things. So with that, I think this is exciting. So this is new. So I think there's a lot of buzz around, the opportunity to continue to move forward with the Detroit ID and find technical solutions to make it more usable. So I'm excited to go to the Patron Recreation Center today and see what are the next steps to actually get my Detroit ID, and submitting a proposal to the city to be able to move forward with improving this program, and seeing how in this program, I'm honing my focus on this program because I think there's a much bigger, there's a lot of opportunity to make an impact, and that's this first part here. So I'm going into it right now, but around this Detroit ID is kind of highlighted a little bit, but around events. So how we can coordinate our events using your DID to just better engage as a community, engage with the community, and then pull resources to just better collaborate with different funds, repairs on different projects, just different collaboration on projects, whether it be art projects, real estate development projects, whether they commercial, community, residential, connecting with different people and public means as well, public resources to develop and clean up parks. There's a lot of different incentive systems that we can put in place, and a DID could be a good backbone to deploying all these different programs with blockchain to just better incentivize and grow how our community operates. And the big thing too is housing. So I think there's a lot of interesting applications, and I'll be talking more with Daniel Easterly. He's been pushing heavily on the ownership of assets and how it impacts in the housing space. So I think there's a lot of interesting opportunity to work and grow, work with, or find in ways to understand the specific issues within these different programs that the city puts in place. This Make It Home program is a very, very important program that's been very successful over the last 8 years now, I believe. So I'm looking forward to understanding how blockchain can improve the transparency and efficiency of this process, and how people can get more involved in helping tenants stay in their homes and acquire the homes that these landlords who have failed to take care of their properties, and allowing these tenants to take ownership of their home and improve their home. And we'll find mechanisms with blockchain and decentralized identifiers to really help grow and keep community engagement to make sure that our residents are living in healthy conditions and are able to stay in their homes. Yeah. So the land bank is be a big part of that. Different tax incentives are gonna be a big part of that. And so this DID was a good foundation to help setting forth a lot of these different initiatives. All right, so I think that's it for now. I'm gonna get a little bit more organized on some of this documentation, and see if I can find some more information on who I can reach out to just further along these conversations on centralized identifiers. And if you want to chat with me on this, get involved. My name's John. can find me on social media at Wired in Samurai. And I'm looking forward to collaborating with you guys and making an impact in our community. I'm going to be pushing forward on there's other people interested as well as hosting a community-focused hackathon. So that's something we'll look at launching in the next year, into the start next year, sometime in January, where we can start building around decentralized identities and community reward systems, event management platform, and stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of opportunity to do some cool things here. So yeah, feel free to reach out, John at dpop.tech. That's JOHN at dpop.tech. So you can reach out to me there, or again, follow me on social media at Wired in Samurai, and you can reach out to me there. All right, I think that's it. That was a bit longer than I was trying to do, but I think it was a good understanding of just where I'm at with this, and this DID project will be the first focus. Let's get this going. All right, thanks guys. Peace.